And so we've got Softtech and we've got Johnson & Johnson. So can we please welcome Amish, who's going to come up and join us. And Pugalenti, yeah. Okay, good. Welcome.
Good afternoon to all. As Howard mentioned, I'm Murgan and I represent Johnson & Johnson Consumers. So today I'm here to share some of the interesting stories on analytics. What is data and analytics is all about and how it is overlapping with supply chain especially, right? Truly to stay true to the topic, the title of the event, Global Supply Chain Summit, there are going to be a lot of global case studies, some of the global case studies I want to share with you. And when you compare with the developed nations versus what we are into from an Indian supply chain or a logistics perspective, we are a long way to cover, right? That's a kind of takeaway. So before I kind of get it started, I just want to show, these are all the big buzzwords per se, what you have been hearing in terms of the technologies which are kind of affecting in the space of supply chain. There are a lot of things we have talked about, the Internet of Things. The last team talked about the telematics, how the data can be used to take decision making, etc. Followed by cloud services. Now we are talking about moving away from the servers and storage devices, putting the data on the cloud and use it for for any decision making. No more big size companies of $1 billion companies are using one SAP system. They are using tens and hundreds of SAP systems, which means that there is not one solution is going to help them. So they are trying to put all the data into a cloud and then trying to take deep into the data to take a decision. So cloud is becoming a much more important thing for a storage or for analysis or for any decision making or for any solution development or for any solution delivery, etc., which is being used in the supply chain space. Followed by analytics, which is what we will talk a little bit more as we go along. It's about how are you going to use the data for our decision making to derive some insights, right? So people are saying that the cars or the vehicles what we are using are becoming moving computers. People are saying that it's not a lathe machine or a drilling machine. It is a computer, right? So which means that it is generating so much of data. So what are we going to do with the data? That's what analytics is dealing with, right? I think my colleague will also talk about data and how it's kind of driving the industry, right? Additive manufacturing, we are talked about the 3D and the 4D printing technologies. Sharing economy, we are talking about the Uberization of manufacturing. There have been a lot of 3PL, 4PL. The technology discussions have happened. So like I mentioned, I want to focus on the discussion on analytics because analytics covers the data, it covers the storage and the analysis method which is on the cloud related topics. It somewhat covers the IoT related discussion as well and social media. Obviously their data is getting generated a big time from social media. So I think I would say analytics is in a sweet spot of converging all these technologies into one space, right? So why analytics in supply chain especially, right? So it's basically I want to kind of bring to your attention that what is changing in the landscape which is driving the attention of analytics, right? So as you can clearly see, it's not no more kind of linear supply chain world what we are operating in. So there are a lot of players, right? We are talking about, we moved from the supply chain balancing to a supply chain orchestration, which means that there are a lot of parties, there are a lot of players. So which means that everyone generates data, everyone wants a real-time visibility, everyone wants to coordinate, etc. So that's where analytics and data is becoming a much more very important thing. Obviously, the rapid growth of data, we are talking about numbers are obnoxious, right? We are talking about 50 time growth, 100 time growth of data in 5 years, 10 years. So what are we going to do with the data? And you can see it's not, data is not only the number forms, right? We are talking about the sensor data, we are talking about the social media data, we are talking about the feed data, we are talking about the enterprise data, which is obviously a structured data, etc. So what are we going to do with this data, right? If the perspective here is, if we are not going to use the data, let's not create the data, right? But we are creating data, which means that every organization, every individuals have an aspiration to use the data. So that's kind of driving the need for analytics. So obviously, when you look at, there are a lot of big buzzwords we talked about, again, IoT, big data, the solutioning, etc. So there have been the CXOs and the CSCOs, the chief supply chain officers of all the organizations, believe that analytics is going to be a game changer for their organization. So that's kind of very clearly evident in all the global organizations are putting this as a kind of, I would call it as a differentiator from the others. The last one is about, more from a business perspective, you can see the industry as an analytics service providers, the data service providers, the technology service providers, they are growing at a CAGR of around 12%, right? Which is, I would call it as, this is the .com kind of boom in the 2018s, right? So it's kind of, we see a huge potential of the usage of data. The business models are revolving around using the data and how we can provide solutions, etc. So those are the reasons why I strongly believe that analytics is a game changer, especially in supply chain, right? Which is one of the complex most function, because this is one function. Supply chain is one word which is kind of encaptures the 20 or 25 different functions, right? You talk about manufacturing, you talk about quality, sourcing, planning, you talk about engineering, maintenance, so on and so forth, right? So much of data, so much of dependencies, etc. So that's where supply chain data has a very strong connect. Okay, now I just want to, like I mentioned, I want to call out some of the industry examples, and I want to dwell on 2 detailed case studies. I think that would be an appropriate as an analytics practitioner for me to share with you. But before getting to those 2 specific case studies, a couple of things which is happening in the industry, starting with P&G. So now obviously with the modern retail evaluation, the kind of the boom, etc., which has made sales as little irrelevant to the business. Supply chain manages the replenishment to the stores in most of the modern economies, and India it's happening slowly as we speak, right? So supply chain role is getting expanded. So P&G got into this mindset of how we can use the data big time in terms of creating a lot of cockpits. They call it decision cockpits. How we can look at the SKU complexity, how many SKUs they need to sell, right? What is the profitability decisions, so on and so forth. They have been taking through the analytics big time. So you can look at, they have been driving a huge amount of savings, like hundreds of non-profitable brands they have been chopping off just through the decision making, the solutions, the analytical solution, which is kind of based on the data. The second one is UPS, the classic case, all the transportation. I could see a lot of transportation brains here, right? Interesting thing, transportation or kind of transportation industry, especially outside India or a developed economy, thrives on data. There is an interesting article which says I would call it as an Apex award in the analytics space. TNT won this award a couple of years back. It's interesting, whomever did an analytical transformation in their organization, they could save a couple of $1 million, maybe a couple of $1 billion, right? TNT used the network optimization, looked at how they have combined the load, shipments, and kind of altering the routes, etc. In Europe alone, what could be the impact is a fascinating thing, that they were operating in 59 airports, right? And some of them are owned by TNT. Out of 59 airports, they have shut down 15 airports, 15, using analytics, right? So they are saying that this is all I don't require, so I can club, I can combine, so through network optimization. That's a very fascinating story. And you can look at UPS, have done huge amount of network redesign. They have done a lot of work around on the truckload building optimization related activities. They kind of climbed a huge amount of savings in that space. Close home, right? In India, Marico, a kind of trans-MNC kind of setup, have been using data and analytics as their very core strength, I would call it as, because 10-15 years back, a company like a mega companies like Unilever's and P&G's and Cadbury's of the world, struggling to do forecasting, struggling to get the primary data, primary sales data, which they sell to the what they sell to the distributors, right? Using, trying to do forecasting using the primary data. Marico was doing forecasting using the tertiary takeoff, what is getting sold in the stores, right? It is an Indian company. So I think those companies thrives on data, data capturing, how do they use in their decision making, and so on and so forth. So Marico really gets the data from perspective of what sales informations are happening, captures that, and then takes decisions based on that. It's very fascinating stories, my friend. So it kind of throws out a kind of unleashed opportunity what we have in this space. So maybe how much time I have? 5 more minutes. Okay. So maybe in the interest of time, I'll take one case. So this is about Dell computers, which makes the computer based on your order and ships it out, right? So which means that you need to provide, and this is a classic case of all Amazon, Flipkarts, what they are going through it. After getting an order, you need to promise how much time it's going to take to deliver to you, right? So the issue is getting critical, complex, if you are going to manufacture the product after receiving an order, which is not the case with Amazons and Flipkarts of the world, because you have the stocks and then you need to just ship it out based on the order. But a company like any build to order or a build to customize to order kind of organization, they need to build the product after getting the product, after getting the order. So, and how do you commit the lead time? It's an interesting story, right? So you take the global average, a 95th percentile, and you provide a commitment date, which is obviously going to be wrong, right? So it's not an ideal way of looking at it. So how does analytics helps it? I think I'll just ignore the slides. So how does it? How did it help, right? Looking at the global footprint of various sourcing points, manufacturing points, various SKU combinations, the delivery points, the complexities, etc. You look at what factors are driving the delivery time. For a very layman example, a person resides in Germany, ordering a latitude machine using his credit card has taken 21 days in the past, right? So which means that you are taking into account of your product, your location of the customer, you are talking about the manufacturing plant, and you are talking about the payment method. These four are driving your lead time, for an example, right? So it has taken 21 days in the past, which means that it's no brainer in future someone in Germany going to order the latitude machine using his American Express card and going to place an order for a specific same product. It's going to take 21 days, not the global average of 12 days, right? So, but it's not easy as I said, right? First of all, you need to understand the criticality of the variable, which one is driving your lead time, which one is really what kind of, if one of the portion in the supply chain is getting delayed, what are the implications on the other nodes? So that's where analytics comes into picture, right? And the amount of data, like I mentioned about one combination of a location, product, payment method. If you do that kind of combinations in that product alone, we were getting close to 1 trillion combinations, 1 trillion combinations, right? So unless otherwise you have the right data backend and the analytical framework, you are not going to really drive those conversations. So that's a kind of great success story, kind of looking at what are the combinations and trying to drive the decision based on that. So you can clearly look at the escalations, the customer care, which gets the call saying that I have not received my consignment, I have not got my update, etc. The escalations have gone down significantly, close to 50%, right, in those areas, etc. So it's kind of fascinating story on analytics, how data can really drive your supply chain, right? So that's the kind of point I want to leave you with. Over? Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
I was scheduled for the directly post-lunch session because sir thought I'm good at putting people to sleep. So now you are past that, I'm lucky. Otherwise the credit would have been mine. Okay, so I'm here to speak on 3 topics in 9 minutes, 3 minutes each. So let me see what best I can touch base. Social media, one of the examples I want to give was very, very powerful. I was interacting with a statistician, and his name was there in a film magazine that Bollywood prints. And I was like inquiring what. And later on I discovered that statistician, he is a darling of all the film producers of India. So all of you would have seen the movie advertisings recently, and you know that advertisement has a cost. Now this statistician, his name is Dr. C.R. Sridhar. I don't know if you have heard of him, but he's a renowned statistician. And what he has done is, he has developed a model of social media data predicting the first weekend what would be the percentage audience in a movie. Now all movies we know that producers aim to recover their money in the first weekend, max second weekend, and after that what comes is a bonus. So all the advertisements that go into a movie are determined by what is the likely footfall in the mention names, the positive, how it is it mentioned in a positive manner, negative manner, means likelihood of people watching. And with all these statistics, he can come to a precise rate that there is likely to be a 60% footfall and you need more advertising, or there is a 95% footfall and you don't need any further advertising, please save your money. So that's an amazing example I thought I could share on social media being used directly for, in a very, through analytics in a very decision-making way. I come mainly from pharma healthcare background, and we have worked on analytics and cloud to get access to data. Now data is a scarce commodity in a fragmented market like India. Most of the supply chain people working in pharma companies, and I'll take a forward apology, but what we have seen is they have surrendered their role of distributor and retailer management. They say it's the sales guy's job to do that. Our role ends at the depot or the CNF and the backward supply chain. So the sales and marketing manage supply chain, the sales team, and believe you me, they make a mess of supply chain. Okay, you have non-moving, you have stockouts, you have overstocking, you have forecasting going haywire. So we have looked at solutions which can probably help a supply chain head take charge back and ensure that at the distributor, at the retailer, there is optimal inventory planning and the analytics associated with it. And that has primarily emanated from the lesson came, the biggest definition of sales was shared with me by a supply chain. In pharma, at least in India, what we have is any sales return, expiry or reverse logistics, it is to be borne by the manufacturer. And in various industries, they have that rule. So the definition of sales was that when the consumer consumes your product and there is no possibility of it coming back to the supply chain, that is called sales. Obviously, you can't get into the house of each consumer and see what pills or what biscuits he has eaten every day. But that is the definition of sale, that when the consumer consumes it and you are very sure it's not going to come back. Because if it's going to come back, it's going to be your liability. With this definition, the measuring point of sales or measuring point of performance of a company needs to be as close to the consumer as possible. And that presents a challenge in a fragmented market like India. Retailers are getting computerized, wholesalers are computerized, but except some large FMCG companies, most mid-sized FMCG companies and pharma and lot of other industry sectors, they are looking at struggling because the number of different inventory billing systems or solutions available in a multi-brand channel, and because of that they are not possible to see real-time data at a distributor level or what is inventory level at a distributor level or what is flowing down the retail level, and many of you would have faced these challenges. So the approach that we have taken is a data integration approach where there is a seamless flow of data and connecting various ERPs. Today we can say that we have built an approach which connects hundreds of different ERPs real time so that the supply chain head in a company can see the visibility of distributor level sales, distributor level inventory, and as well as retailer placing orders to the distributor. So this visibility is then leading to data, and obviously then we have all this data is on the cloud and the subsequent analytics. Now what are the analytics we are talking about? We are talking about something in the range of 4 to 5% turnover, 4 to 5% of the top line being added to your bottom line, which is a substantial. So if I see by pure bottom line, we are talking of a 20% jump in bottom line purely by efficiency in the channel because of visibility of data and the associated analytics on it. So people have reduced schemes, bonuses, saying that all the bonus that I am pumping in, it's leading to inventory buildup at a distributor, it is not leading to higher sales. So they have reduced schemes and they have had the same sales. They have maintained the sales. That's a direct addition to the bottom line. So there have been tons of analytics. It's too short a session to kind of take case studies and give you actual examples. But I think we have a lot of potential in India, because today in India we have bypassed certain technological challenges. We have the best of the world. So it's like saying like, we almost bypassed the pager revolution. We went straight onto mobiles. We had a very short stint on pagers. And there are advanced countries like UK, US, they had a 20, 30-year period where they used pagers. Similarly, we today have the latest technology of data integration, analytics, while people in the supply chain are still getting computerized. So if you see this holistic merger that we have, we can blend the best of both worlds. And that blending is coming at a very, very low cost. What CAGR Murgan showed on data analytics growth, we as a data analytics company are worried at times because of AI. Now what AI is doing is, it is reducing the cost of analytics. So there is a possibility that the analytics industry will go the way the telecom industry in India has gone, where the customers have a big laugh, but you get like very good analytics at a very, very low cost. And there is benefits directly to be associated. The last part I would like to end with is adaptability. So if you see pharma companies, there are different rates of both how you adopt to the data and how you adapt to the data. So people still have an inertia to move to the next level. You have a fantastic solution, but you have to still really work hard selling it. You have an obvious solution, but you still have to work hard towards selling it. And that is, I think, some of the slow things, the way the country moves or sectors move or the industries move. Because efficiency leads to reduction in jobs. Automation leads to reduction in jobs. And in a country like India, that's not a very good thing to do. But that's the sad fact. So we have to look, it's like driving automation at a pace where you're not really impacting the other folks. So that is, I would like to end my session with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Could you